here in Knock. It's the 2nd of January, first Saturday. So came here to pray the rosary, completely empty. I think there was one person in the Adoration Chapel with me, so I spent about a half an hour there. But there was, I'm here, the Basilica, walking around. I'd say if there was 10 people here in the whole shrine, it would be a lot. I don't see anybody. There's a few people walking around. And completely closed. All of the shops are closed, and non-essential as such. The parish church was closed as well, but the apparition chapel was open. A little bit cold, so but it was fine. You could pray there. It was a very nice day. And I just think it's surreal in a sense. We're year 2 of this pandemic, that has divided the world. And I couldn't help thinking, we are so afraid of this virus now that it has completely stopped Christians practicing their faith in a community, in a setting. Now we were into our 3rd lockdown in Ireland, so it's in a sense, this is going to roll on and on for God knows how long, until the next virus comes along, and then they'll be able to roll out the same thing again, because they've found a formula to control us in a way. So it's pretty sad, but I think it's an apt time to read the Acts of the Apostles. They were, how many times were they dragged in and told, you're not to talk about the faith, you're not to preach the faith, you're not to tell people about the faith, don't go preaching in Christ's name. Now you go back to being good little Jews here in Jerusalem, and don't go about ruffling feathers and telling people what to do and so forth. Just go home and be quiet, please. Don't talk about Jesus Christ. If you read the Acts of the Apostles, go through just pick up the Acts of the Apostles and read the early days. It's not too dissimilar to what today is, because the message we're getting from our society is, Christians, Catholics, you're not essential anymore. Please stop trying to think you're essential, because the faith is not essential anymore. What is essential is that we all stay home, and we look at Netflix, and we don't go out, and we wear masks, and we don't talk to each other, we don't group together, we don't live our faith. That's what's essential today. It's not essential that we talk about Christ anymore. 2,000 years later, and we live the same reality as the apostles lived in the act, during after the resurrection. Don't talk about faith. Don't go out healing people. Don't go meeting together and preaching the faith. There's always a pretext throughout history not to live and preach the faith, and that those pretexts are still here today. We can. This pandemic, has been fantastic time to destroy the faith, which in many ways they are doing. They have been doing a long time before this pandemic, because we can go on and on and on about this virus, but at the end of the day, we have to make a choice between Christ and the faith, or between what this world is offering us. Just looking around Knock here today, it's quite clear. We've decided as a church, that we'll hunker down and we'll just be quiet and do what the government tells us. Our national broadcaster can make fun of God and call him a rapist, which has happened in Ireland, and we can have our fake protests about what has happened, but at the end of the day, we have to realize that unless we come out and live the faith. That is, simply, nothing will change. I just find it incredibly, interesting, how so little people, how we don't believe really in the gospel, and we don't believe in what the apostles did after the resurrection. That if you read the Acts of the Apostles and you think about, they go to the temple and they heal the man. Says, look, we don't have gold and silver here to help you, the beggar, but what we can do is maybe we can heal you. Do we really believe anymore? Do we really believe anymore? We don't. The church does not believe. Our leaders do not believe, because if they did, they would not live the lives they live. And I'm certainly no example, when I talk about this. But at the end of the day, we should reflect on where we are going as a church. We should think about where we are going with the faith today. What are we teaching? And meditate on the state of our faith in Ireland. As Christians, as Catholics. We're here in Knock, first Saturday of January 2021, completely empty. And there was no law. There's no law that can stop us going and praying at the chapel here. It's open. We can go and pray the rosary, come here with our families. But that's such as life. Anyway, reflection on another year 2 of this pandemic, and it could be a time to grow the faith and to be, witnesses to the faith, or it's a time, we can just give in to the world and what the world says we should do and the way society should ask us to live.